Well, it looks like the liberals and their mainstream media overlords were once again completely wrong in their predictions when it came to the future of this Trump economy and how effective the Trump tariffs would be.
This is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce this deal between our two great countries, and I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together.
History was made today when it was announced by Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom and President Donald Trump that the two nations, America and the United Kingdom, had reached a trade deal agreement, once again leaving the liberals looking absolutely foolish. But how foolish did they look? Well, I pulled up some funny articles from about 1 month ago when these Trump tariffs were announced, and I've decided I'm actually going to start a new series on this channel. I'm going to start a series, a playlist on YouTube here, that is solely dedicated to debunking mainstream media lies and revisiting the old ones to see how well they've aged. And we're going to start with the topic of the Trump tariffs and the trade negotiations going on around the world on episode 1 of Debunking Liberal Mainstream Media Lies right here on American Advocates. So as I was saying, I decided to look up some articles, and I came across a couple interesting ones, like this New York Times article, captioned, "Trump takes on improbable task in seeking trade deals across the globe." Now, what they called an improbable task, meaning that they didn't believe that he'd be able to pull this off at all, was proven false today with this deal with Keir Starmer. But it gets better. This article from Fusion reads like this. And why should other countries want to make trade deals with the U.S. when Trump just demonstrated that the U.S. won't keep its word, even on deals that Trump himself signed during his first term? There is no sophisticated plan to negotiate great trade deals or reduce other countries' trade barriers behind the Trump administration's chaotic implementation of its signature economic policy. The task it has set for itself is impossible, which is likely why it hasn't really attempted to do it. These facts will not be any different in early July when the tariff pause is set to expire. Well, that just reads with so much confidence, doesn't it? But what facts have changed now, even before July? It looks like other countries, in fact, are willing to come to the table.
Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs, but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt.
And the UK is just the starting point. There are over 100 countries that have reached out to America and the Trump administration begging for better trade deals. I have a feeling most of those trade deals are going to wind up shaping up like the one we saw right here today with the UK and Trump. But by far the most interesting article that I found on the web was a CNN article titled, "Trump's refusal to blink on tariffs raises the risks of an ugly endgame." And this article has so much wrong with it. Let's begin with dissecting it a little bit. It reads like this. The president's refusal to bend means that the risks that his policy could trigger a loss of global economic confidence and raging inflation will grow. Halt. Let's stop right there. Inflation didn't grow, and it was down in the month of March. It was down lower than projected. It's an actual healthy economic sign, and one of the main reasons why Trump has such a problem with the head chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell. He's supposed to lower interest rates based off of inflation being down, but he has failed to. Let's continue on. Perhaps at some point, the economic and political consequences will hit such a critical mass that they force him to change course. But that equation is a daunting one, since it would become all about how much pain Americans can bear. "Nobody but me would do this," Trump told reporters. "You know, it's nice to serve a nice easy term, but we have an opportunity to change the fabric of our country. We have an opportunity to reset the table on trade." Well, look who turned out to be correct there. And it's just getting started. I can't emphasize that enough. The UK is the first of many countries. But Trump is absolutely correct. Other politicians for 30 years now have recognized the need for this to happen. None of them have had the balls to do it. And along comes Trump. He's the guy, and he's pulling it off. And liberals hate that. But it gets even better with this article. The next section of it, why it's so hard to see an easing of a self-created crisis. It's hard to work out what is next because there's a massive contradiction at the center of Trump's policy. He insists he's trying to restore the late 19th century glory of America's manufacturing base, a project that would require protectionism for years to come and even permanent tariffs. But he and top aides also say that they are open to negotiations on trade deals, a process that would by definition fall short of the complete overhaul of the global trading system the president is after. And this is them quoting Trump in this article because in their minds, this quote makes him look stupid. Trump's quoted as saying, both can be true. There can be permanent tariffs and there can also be negotiations because there are things that we need beyond tariffs. And once again, look who turned out to be correct. The details of the UK-America trade deal are as following. UK is lowering many of their non-tariff trade barriers on America, allowing for us to increase our exports to the UK by anywhere between 5 to 15 billion. On top of that, we are still going to be tariffing the UK at the 10% tariff rate that President Donald Trump promised we would be doing to pretty much every country across the world. So Trump literally did not back off on the tariffs and also managed to convince the UK to reduce their non-tariff trade barriers and lower their tariffs on us, allowing us to export more of our goods to the UK and have a much more balanced trade system with them. And we're still going to be tariffing them 10% and generating tariff revenue every single month from the UK. He was completely right once again. And finally, when it comes to this article, but the president's willingness to pursue this course has many economists deeply worried. If President Trump carries through on this is economic malpractice on a grand scale, something we haven't seen in a half a century. Greg, whatever that last name, that's not even a real last name, that's a made-up word. I don't know what the endgame is going to be, he continued, but if he persists in this, the outcome is going to be very ugly. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why the mainstream media is constantly being dubbed as fake news by President Donald Trump, a title that is now sticking with them as their viewership continues to plummet throughout the years. Their relevancy is in massive decline. I truly do feel sorry for people who still pay attention to news articles like this. They've been fear-mongering for months now, convinced that President Trump is going to usher in the death of a nation, ruin the American empire, leave our economy in shambles, destroy 401ks and Social Security, along with Medicare, Medicaid, blah, 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 blah. The list just goes on. And that's why I'm creating this series, because every single time Trump proves the mainstream media wrong, I am going to have it on record right here on the internet for anybody to stumble across it and learn the truth. It's important. Now, who's next when it comes to the trade deals? Well, Vice President J.D. Vance was spotted out in India dealing with Prime Minister Modi. I already made a video about that. I think it's brilliant. We should move more stuff out of China and into India, let them produce for us instead of China. Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, many other countries are going to follow suit. And every time they do, it's like a slap in the face to the liberal mainstream media who not only predicted doom, despair, and agony on America when it came to the Liberation Day tariffs, they also secretly hoped for it. Nevertheless, with a man like Trump as president, the liberal left mainstream media never gets what they hope for. They're constantly proven wrong, and Trump's success is all but guaranteed. Glory to America. God bless the USA.